Hello everybody, hi, welcome to Old Style Classics Baseball Cards, Saturday, April 27th, 2024, and just looking at my statistics earlier. I'm at like 300 and this will be the 367th video, and I started at the beginning of October, so lots of stuff. Actually started recording in September, but like I told you yesterday, I lost some of those videos before I decided on Old Style Classics baseball cards. And shout out time. So thank you for joining me on Old Style here. Old Style Classics baseball cards. Once again, thank you. All of your products are designed with obsessive attention to detail with your needs in mind. Thank you for watching Old Style Classics baseball cards. Today is going to be, to me, a super special episode, but I'll get to that in a minute. Got a comment a couple hours ago from Cardboard Nerd again. Wow, that's a great shopping spree, nice patches and signatures. Talking about the pickups at the Silicon Valley Card Show. And I responded to, oh, nice patches and nice basketball minis. Those are unique. And then I just responded that, you know, I love those minis. Mini tobacco cards, which do. Prior to that, Collector's Dream sent a nice cards thing and responded to him talking about his Ty Cobb card that he picked up in his Camp Anson. And that one video he was showing old cards with some other guys yesterday or the day before. Alright folks, but so let's get to this, people. This is a special episode, and it's inspired because of Rick Vintage Oddball Cards VR. Do you have a card that Mangini doesn't have from the set, or Stump Mangini? And I did my 1987 Chicago Cubs team set David Berg cards, which included Sandberg, Dawson, and the very first Greg Maddux card. And but I just did a little tease on that because I've been meaning to do this video for a long time and just hadn't got around to it because I have to gather different things to to do that. Well, I gathered that stuff up, so thank you. I hope you guys all watch this video. So I'm gonna start here now. A couple months ago on eBay, because I have the 87, and you know Andre Dawson's my favorite player in my PC. I ordered the 1988 Chicago Cubs Andre Dawson team set giveaway at Wrigley Field there. So if you want to take a look at that, 1988 Chicago National League Ball Club, pure beef hot dogs, compliments of David Berg and Venture. And that's my boy Andre Dawson. That's after his MVP season there. Look at those stats on 87. So they're really, really thin stock cards, but they're super cool. And now, since I picked that up, I kind of want to get my 87 in one of these top loaders to put in my binder with it, because let's go to the story here in a second. Before we get to that, now in 2001, my brother went to Chicago. I believe it was my brother David went to Chicago and went to a game, and just happened to go on the day they were giving Andre Dawson card away, so I guess they stopped doing team sets and do more like individual cards. So that is a Wrigley Field, August 28, 2001, Topps 50 years Southwest Airlines official airline of Chicago Cubs Andre Dawson card. But this one was made specifically for this game. So as you can see, that's an 88 version of a Topps, much like you would see in last year's insert sets. But as you can tell, that's 2001. So this was a reprint, I guess. And There we go. He was the 23,289th person to get this card going into Wrigley Field. So just by dumb luck, my brother happened to be at this game when visiting Chicago from Albuquerque. And of course gave this card to me, and I'm super stoked about that. Thank you, David, or whoever gave me this card. I'm 99% sure it was him. So probably got to call him later today. Just sold her mom's house and all that. It's out of probate, and talk about what they did and what to expect. But hey, thank you, David. Alright, so here's a little preview of some other videos I'm going to be doing at some point in time. And the reason I'm showing you this is because this has to do with this game. So this game where these cards were given away at, well, let me put these two back on here so you guys are looking at something. Chicago Cubs home game number 51 versus the Montreal Expos, Wrigley Field, Wednesday, July 29th, 1987 at 1:20 p.m. And I used to go back and visit. So let's see, I would have been like 15 at that point in time, I believe. And when we would go back and visit every couple years, I would go with my grandpa or my grandparents before my grandma died every year or two, and I'd stay for a few weeks with my cousins. Anyhow, they knew that we liked baseball cards because probably earlier in the 80s when I'd go visit, we were looking at Transformers and Garbage Pail Kids. Now, we had some baseball stuff. Obviously, we loved the Cubs. But, you know, when you're younger, you're into like Garbage Pail and all that kind of stuff, Star Wars figures. But by probably around 86, they really started picking up collecting, and I was just kind of still picking up oddball stuff. Maybe a pack here and there. Like I remember getting a Dwight Gooden rookie card and all that. But 87's when we really got going. But anyways, my aunt and uncle and my grandpa all knew that we were into collecting cards, so they took us to this game. And so here's a ticket stub for that game. Now, my aunt did not save our original ticket stubs, but for years, you know, I finally tracked down what game it was at by looking at one of the little schedules with the promos on it, and I just happened to go on eBay and look up a ticket stub from this date, and some dude was selling one just randomly, like 27 years later or something like that. So I immediately ordered it because we were in this general area. We were kind of, I want to say, around first base, probably 30, 40 rows up or something like that. Somewhere in that area. And so that's a similar section we were in. I remember there were wooden seats. I even got pictures of us sitting at the game. But anyway, so I typed this little thing down on July 29th, 87, Wrigley Field. Chicago Cubs versus Montreal Expos baseball card day. I got 2 packs. There's a preview or a spoiler. Maddux lost 11-3. Final 37,019. Andre Dawson went 0 for 3, but he did reach on an error. I remember that because Dawson was my favorite player at the time. The 9th, Manny Trujillo hit a 2-run home run. The 100th game, I'm not sure what that means. Me, Grandpa, Pam, Dan, Wendy, Keith, Doug, and my grandpa and my Uncle Dan were pretty drunk, and that was pretty funny because we took the bus over there. You know, they were kind of like, oh, la, 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 or something like that. It was neat. Those were the days where you could hang out with your grandpa and uncle, and they can get drunk and nobody cared, as long as they didn't get in a fight. So anyways, at this game, I obviously not at the game, but later I opened one of the packs, which I'll show you, and then the guy sitting next to me said, hey kid, do you collect cards? And I was like, yeah, I do. You know, would you like to have mine? Because I don't. And I was like, yeah, sure, thank you, sir. And he gave me his extra pack, so I kept one pack sealed because I knew enough about cards by that point in time. But of course, couldn't resist getting at my Andre Dawson. Nobody knew who Greg Maddux was at the time. And not only that, but he got his butt kicked that day. But anyway, so here's the first page of my Ticket Stub binder, volume 1, my like 600-ish concerts and who knows how many hundreds of sporting events. So like this I count as first. When we were in elementary school, I went to the symphony a couple times through the years, so those would have been my first concerts. And the first regular concert I went to, my parents took me to see Don Williams, like in 1985, New Mexico State Fair. Went to see Motley Crue before we went to Chicago because I really liked Whitesnake. And then Whitesnake disappointed me, but Motley Crue blew me away, and I was a super fan of them ever since. And of course my Cubs game, but here you go. That other Legends for Lobos that I'm always talking about. There's the ticket stub for that. And look at that, I got ticket number 100. So, and I also had the newspaper ad for this, along with that ball that I'm going to show where I met Bob Gibson and those guys. So that's sweet that I still have that. Now there are some empty spots in here. Like in here during this time, I did go to some Lobo basketball and football games and like the Harlem Globetrotters. So there's some sporting events and obviously a bunch of other Cubs games. I mean, I remember going to Cubs game in like 77. I'm fairly sure they were playing the Pirates. And then we did go to Cubs games before this when I would go visit, but this is the one I know for sure I was at. And then my favorite singer, Robert Plant, with Joan Jett there at Tingley. So then once I got the baseball cards, things signed, and then I was fascinated and started trying to get Ticket Stub signed. Now this show, I was at a bar when I was 17, and my brother's friend with a bouncer snuck me in. I was sitting there at the bar at 17. I was like, oh, can I have a rum and coke? And we got to meet Faster Pussycat and got this autograph on this business card. Now, I just wrote all over a bunch of stuff for like 10 or 15 years before I ever stopped writing on these things. But it was super cool. I'll tell that story someday. My grandma had died. That's why we had went back that summer in 87. She died in February. Buried her. We went to Chicago, and then he wanted to go back to see her grave because, unlike the movies, when they bury someone, you don't get a headstone right away and all that. They bury you, and then they put the headstone in later. So anyways, look at those two. Rest in peace to both Jeff Beck and Stevie Ray Vaughan. Great concert. But I digress. This is what we're here for. So let's get to it, folks. So I have tons and tons of ticket stubs, and plenty of them are autographed. Alright, so there's my Wrigley Field stuff right there. Now I have some other Wrigley Field stuff, but it was in that chest I left at my brother's house, like the Sammy Sosa Wrigley Field money, and I believe I have a Harry Carey money as well. I don't know why I did that. I was stupid. I was pretty broke at the time. But anyways, I do want to put these probably in the top loaders. I don't know if I have enough for this whole set, but that's the same one this card over here is in. Is the same size, 3.5 by 5, 1/8. So it works out well. So I'll definitely put the bigger cards to start there. Let me grab a few of these. Alright, set these aside over here, folks. Alright, here we go. The first time showing these to anybody other than what I showed on that Rick Vintage Oddball Cards VR contest. 1987 Chicago Cubs David Berg Hot Dog Team Set. Complete set. Very first Greg Maddux card as a major league player. Now this card shouldn't be first. It's not the way it came. Alright, and I don't think Sandberg belongs right there, but that's okay. Yeah, we'll move Guess we'll move those to the back. Alright, I showed this card the other day. So there's Dave Martinez, outfielder. Upside down there. So super thin stock, folks. Really thin. So compliments of David Berg, so that doesn't say Venture on there this time. So there you go. I guess I have a hot dog card, but not the same as you guys talking about. So the 87 Chicago National League Ball Club. So I remember old Dave Martinez. Solid player. I'm going to just set these over here. Just a second, folks. I want to make sure that these cards get as protected as I can. No matter what condition they're in, they're still really important cards. Gene Michael, manager. So let's see if I can make a little adjustment here. Alright, so Gene Michael was the manager. And there's where he was before. Yankees, Columbia. Look at that Chicago dog on there. You got the seeded bun with the dog, mustard, relish, pickles, tomatoes, sport pepper. Me, I don't eat onions, and I hate relish because I cannot stand sweet pickles. Are like the worst thing in the world to me. I mean, even more than onions. So when I make a Chicago dog, I use bun, dog, mustard, dill pickle, tomatoes, celery salt, and peppers if I have any. Or you can use sauerkraut. I know it's not technically, but still pretty good stuff. Remember eating at Demon Dogs. The guys from Chicago own that. And then I think the Top Dog, that superhero dog one, my cousins lived right near there, just literally like 300 yards from that hot dog shop. They're on the north side, over by Harlem and Northwest Highway, I think, somewhere in that area. It's like Super Dog or Top Dog or something. It's got a little superhero dog up on the sign. Kind of like the Bob's Big Boy. Alright, so there's Gene Michael, and then old Keith Moreland. You guys remember Keith? My cousin's name's Keith. So Keith Moreland, I think I remember him playing infield more than anything. Maybe he had been around. Bounced around there. So I'll give each of these cards a little time in the limelight, folks. Guess I'll do the top loading at the end. See where we're at. And now Jody Davis, the catcher. The Cubs were not good in '87. Horrible. But Andre Dawson was just a beast. Hey, look, and there's the girl, the ball girl. Oh, what's her name? Catherine or Caitlin? Or she was professional. And she was like a big deal. Harry Carey used to make a big deal about her. She's really pretty. She kind of looked like Miss Elizabeth from WWF, Macho Man's girl. And all the people loved her. And then she posed in Playboy, and the Cubs fired her. And you can see that on YouTube. There's a whole thing about her. So look up the Cubs ball girl. And there's like a 10-12 minute episode talking about her getting fired, but and aspiring to act and all that kind of stuff. And she went into Playboy, so you could check that out too if you like these days. So Mr. Jody Davis, 6'3". So that is pretty sweet. Moving right along, folks. I'm sorry if it's going too slow for you, but these cards are important to me. These are some of the cards that I treasured the most, like protected as best I could, because of that Maddux and Dawson and other Hall of Famers in here. But that was my Cubs, and I was at this game. Talk about coincidence or dumb luck, or was it fate? You guys tell me what you think by leaving a comment, subscribing, liking, sharing this with anybody So thanks to old Rick and John Mangini, the fact that I showed these cards, some of them in the other episode, just put a what's the saying? Lit a fire under me to get around to doing this. I'm always waiting for the right time to do it, so why not a Saturday? So there we go, Mr. Leon Durham. He was really good. Jim Sundberg. So that's crazy. Take a look here. Jody Davis was the other catcher. I was like, wait a minute. Because he was one of our two catchers. So Jim Sundberg, remember him. So beautiful cards, people. And even if you're not a Cubs fan, you'll see some cool stuff in here. You know, my old Cubbies are playing Boston right now. They beat them last night. Or they're going to be, yeah, they are playing them now. So that, talk about classic matchup. The Red Sox and the Cubs. Alright, my man Shawn Dunston. I guess I just saw his autograph in my box the other day when I was pulling out those Flair cards for you. The round ones. And I saw his autograph in there and I was like, oh, I should show this. I guess I could have pulled it out for this, but yeah. Mr. Shawn Dunston, dude, was super fast and had a cannon of an arm for shortstop, but just couldn't hit the ball. And kind of a Javier Baez kind of, maybe not that bad, but just, you know, 250 kind of guy, 260 batting average. So he just didn't get on base and he wasn't patient. You know, he had 1 million stolen bases if this guy can get on base. Hey, people. Oh, wow, look, it's the president. And she's wearing her Willie Nelson shirt.
Hello, people.
And I'm doing my special episode of my 1987 Chicago Cubs cards with the first Greg Maddux ever.
Nice.
They lit a fire under my butt when I did that response for Rick, Vintage Oddball Cards to Stump Mangini, on a set that I don't think he would have, or a card from a set. And this was my entry, was these. There's old Shawn Dunston and his autographs over there by my wife right now, where she's watching her General Hospital. And I showed them the thank you card you got, and they want to thank you back, honey. Thank you for even talking to any of us nerds who like baseball cards. Nerd alert. Mr. Manny Trujillo, folks. So give old Manny some time in the limelight. Look at that stat line. Wow. Been around. I don't know what's going on here. Wow, look at old Manny. Played in Tucson. And then Oakland. Played with Cubs a long time ago. Went away and then came back. Hey, there you go. Giants fans. He even played with you guys for a while. Right, see it right here, people. Game-winning RBI. That was a stat back in the day. Why did they get rid of that? I'll never know. But that's an important stat. Like, how valuable were you to your team? Like in a war sense? Well, if you knock in the game-winning RBI, you should get a lot of credit, like old Miguel Montero did for the Cubs in the World Series, and gets no credit since they did away with that stat. Everyone talks about oh boy, I can't even think of his name. What's our utility player? The one that left the next year or whatever. Won the MVP for the World Series. Guy from Kansas City. Ah, dang it. Anyways, Miguel Montero, thank you for getting the game-winning RBI in the World Series. Don't get enough credit. So there we go. Sorry, Bob Denier, outfielder. Didn't mean to take time away from your limelight. Long-time player, Bob Denier. All right, one of our pitchers, Scott Sanderson. Remember him. I know WGN a lot. One of our starting pitchers, I'm fairly certain. Sorry, some people, I got something in my mouth. And so then when I listen to these videos, I say stuff like this. Now, I didn't have a stroke that I know about. It's because I'm got Got something in between my lip and gum. Sorry about that, but it is what it is. I'm addicted like I am to baseball cards. So Mr. Scott Sanderson there. All right. Moving along. Hey, Jerry Mumphrey. He was a good big dude. Look at that. Look at how long this dude played. Man, they sure stacked in the stats there. Well, people, just to let you know, I went crazy on eBay today. I found some cards that I needed to check off my Allen Ginter list, and the only ones I found were on check out my cards. So that ended up getting me to buy 3 of those that I needed from an insert set they did. And I'm like, well, if I'm on check out my cards right now, you know, their shipping's expensive. You don't want to do separate orders. So I just kept looking at all this stuff, and I ended up ordering like $150 or $80 worth of stuff. Just tons of stuff. PC stuff, some other stuff, and some old style classic cards from this early 2000s that I had no idea about. Never seen them, never knew about them. Came across one and I was like, oh my god. So I went down that rabbit hole. I'm gonna have to look for some boxes because those are beautiful, but I'm not gonna tell you what it is. But it is an old style classic kind of card, kind of like those Flair Greats, but it's more in line with like Allen Ginter, Gypsy Queen, and Goodwin Champions. And it's from Upper Deck. Just beautiful. So, and then I got some autograph stuff coming too, some more Hall of Famers, that you might be seeing one of those Hall of Famers in this set here that I ordered a cool post-playing careers autograph card, but I'm fine with that because it's a classy looking card, and it'll go right in hand with his buddy, his teammate at the time. Alright, so yeah, maybe in about a week I should have a ton of stuff coming in. Well, it depends how long it takes to check out my cards, but I think they're pretty good on getting on the eBay orders. But I did see that Burbank Cards didn't send me an OBAC card that I ordered of George Bush. So I sent that out like, hey, where's my card? And it's been a month. So I'm like 100% sure I never got it because I would have made a bigger deal out of it, I believe. And it says it was shipped, but it doesn't say it was delivered. So Brian Dayette, outfielder, back up there apparently. He's from the Yankees in the past. So maybe Yankees fans know about him. Sorry, Brian, I'm not familiar with you. Look at that, Chico Walker, folks. Oops, got the hiccups. Chico Walker, and a nice Chicago with that Cubs right there in the middle. So yeah, I think I was sitting up here. If you looking at this angle, I was up here somewhere, probably 10 rows away from the walkway that would go around, so somewhere around there. And I remember the wooden seats, and we were kind of right below the upper deck because some people would spill some of the beer and stuff, and it comes streaming down, and it would land in our aisle, like the few aisles right where we were. So wherever that section is, right below the upper deck, where people would drop their beer, or you don't know if they were doing it intentionally. So I remember hiding these cards, like, yeah, I probably was wearing my Cubs windbreaker that I have in some pictures from middle school, so I'll have to show that someday. I don't have the windbreaker anymore, but I got the pictures of me wearing it, like in the 6th grade. Alright, so Chico Walker, it doesn't say where he's from, so that's cool. Alright folks, sorry this is taking a while. Frank DiPino, left-hand pitcher. Old Frank. Oh, there's my wife again. Wow. I just saw her hair flipping by and it was so pretty. Hi, baby. Can I touch your Willie?
No.
You won't let me touch that Willie Nelson shirt of yours?
Nope.
Dagnabbit. Oh, she mooned me.
No, I didn't.
Oh, wishful thinking. Woo. Wish it and it will become true. Woo. All right, Frank Del Pino. 15 and 29, so not a great record there. All right, Mr. Steve Trout. There's another, I would say, well-known name back in the days. He got around. All right, Steve Trout. All right, there you go, Gary Matthews. So remember Gary Matthews Jr., his son was playing a couple years back in the league. There's Gary Matthews' papa. I don't know if Gary Matthews Jr. is still around, but look at Gary, man. That guy got around. Played over here in Fresno, apparently, and there in Amarillo. Started, look at 72, so that's an important year for us. So what does this say? Chicago, oh, they moved it to the side when they couldn't fit. So Gary Matthews, solid player. 282 batting average. 1972 in hits at this point in time. That's funny because he started in 1972. So home runs 231. So he's a solid kind of third man, I would say. So he might be your fifth or second or fifth batter in the lineup kind of guy. Oh, Ed Lynch here. That's 37. I think that's the uniform number. Of course, every time upside down to me. Mr. Ed Lynch. Played up there in Tulsa and Sarasota and Asheville. There you go. Some major minor league name teams there. Mr. Ed Lynch, 37. All right, folks. Still chugging along. Ron Davis, right-hand pitcher. I think he must have been a. I don't think he was a starter. Yeah, maybe. Do you have any saves? For a while there, he did. So, I'm not too familiar with him. All right, here we go. Here's the first big one. Mr. Rick Sutcliffe, who said he would pay Andre Dawson like $100,000 or $500,000 if he came to the Cubs because the Cubs screwed Andre Dawson when baseball was colluding against him, and it was proven in court that they colluded against him and some other superstars that tried to go free agency. And the Cubs, he came to the Cubs, gave him a blank contract. They signed Andre Dawson for the league minimum, even though he should have been making millions as the top player in Montreal and five-tool all-star and all that. But the Cubs were in collusion. They all agreed not to pay anybody to leave their team, so they would re-sign with their teams. And Sutcliffe said, "I'll pay him like $500,000 or $100,000 of his, extra if he comes to the Cubs." And then in an interview on YouTube here, Andre Dawson, when they were asking him about it, he goes, "Well, I'm still waiting on that check." So that's funny. But old Rick Sutcliffe, I think he does baseball for ESPN or somebody. So we all loved Rick Sutcliffe in Chicago. Hey, look at that. He played in Albuquerque. All right. Wow. Yeah, the year before I moved there. No, 78. So who knows? Maybe I did see Rick Sutcliffe when I first moved to Albuquerque. I'm sure we would have gone to a game to get used to the city and what it had to offer. So who knew? Wow. That's sweet. And that's about the same time I met my wife. There's a whole story, folks. My wife is the first girl I ever liked. It just took 30-some years for her to say yes. All right, and our first Hall of Famer, folks, Lee Smith. Boom. First Hall of Famer that I've recognized. All right, Mr. Lee Smith, right-hand pitcher. Sorry this video is going on long, folks. I'm sure people zip around, but you're going to have to wait till the end to get to the big ones. There you go, Lee Smith, 144 saves by that point in time, along with 36 wins, so that's about 200 wins that he was involved in almost there. So Lee Smith, we'll leave him there for a second while I pull the next card. All right, so there you go. There's one Hall of Famer. Not a Hall of Famer, but Dickie Knowles, right-hand pitcher. Good enough to make it up there, and he played for a long time there. All right. I remember his name. Oh, there we go, people. May not be in the Hall of Fame, but boy, look at Jamie Moyer. Him and Maddux came up together, and this guy was what some people call stat compiler, but talk about longevity. If you're good enough to be up in the big show and play for as long as this guy did, who cares if he compiled stats, because he was obviously considered by his teams worthy of being there and bringing something to the table, whether it was pitching, getting pitch counts in and filling up games and stuff like that. They needed that stuff, and he was one of the major choices to do that. So there you go. So not only is it the same as the Greg Maddux, but this looks to be like the first baseball card on a major league team of Jamie Moyer, people. So there you go. They may not be Hall of Fame right now, but who knows? Maybe someday they might think, you know what, this guy really put in his time and deserves it. I have to look at his stats. So there you go, Jamie Moyer. All right. Our next Hall of Famer is on this card here, Mr. Billy Williams. Now, I don't know about the other guys. They're all coaches. But there's our old boy Billy Williams, and I just was talking about something a little while ago, and it has to do with this guy here. So Mr. Billy Williams was looks like, I think, a batting coach for the Cubs back then. All right, there's the David Berg, a little different there. Billy Williams, hitting instructor. Now, I think I met one of these guys at that '88 game and had signed my ball. It might have been this dude here, or Snyder. I don't know. Well, I don't know. I'll have to look at the list of people who were there, but I know one of the Cubs coaches was there, and I actually got to talk to him for like 5 minutes. Talking about, I love the Cubs and blah, blah, blah. I was probably just there at this game last year, and super nice guy. All those guys that put in their time and effort to go do things like charitable events or fundraisers for college teams and stuff like that. So hopefully these modern guys, when they get a chance, they'll return the favor, because that's how some of these guys get up there, because baseball is a tough sport. I mean, in the old days, people just did whatever they could to play baseball, like street ball, the rubber ball on a stick or broom handle or whatever. But a couple things, like parks don't let you play baseball in them. I remember that as a kid. They would run us off because they were worried about you breaking a window or hurting somebody. The fields that were like softball fields and stuff don't want you there because they don't want you messing up the field. The Little League fields don't want you there because they have practices and stuff there, and same thing. Then you have to have equipment, you have to have bats, balls, and gloves, and so a lot of kids can't afford that stuff, or you got to carry a lot of stuff with you, which is easier to just grab a football or basketball. So that's part of the reason. But yeah, thanks for these guys doing those kind of things. So Mr. Billy Williams, just a little bit of a Hall of Famer card there. All right, folks, now we got to the big three. We'll start with a lot of people's favorite, Ryne Sandberg, folks. Hall of Famer, second baseman. Just Rhino, and thanks to Ryne Sandberg for his speech trying to get Andre Dawson in the Hall of Fame there when he was inducted, and so he gave a speech for Rhino, for Andre, buddy of Andre's and fellow Hall of Famer, one of the greatest second basemen of all time. Had some huge years, couple MVPs, I believe. at least one I know of, but he might have had two. But I might be conflating that with the home run crown for the year. But nevertheless, he's recently announced he has, I think, prostate cancer. So we wish him well, and best of luck to Ryne Sandberg, one of the greats of all time, not just as a Cub, but one of the most beloved players in baseball history. Hear a lot of fans from other teams who really like Rhino. So, hard to argue. And we all love Ryne Sandberg. Alright, folks, I'm going to have to show you my card, my favorite, before we get to the big boy. For my PC, there's the Andre Dawson. So that's my Andre Dawson, the card that's on the front of the pack. Obviously, it was new to the Cubs that year, so it was a big deal. People loved Andre. One of the great Hall of Famers, 5-tool players of all time. 12 knee surgeries kept him out of the 500 club. I think 12 knee surgeries plus 2 strikes kept him out of the 600 club. He probably would have been up there with Mays, one of the great defenders. 8 All-Stars, 8 Gold Gloves, Silver Sluggers, Sporting News Player of the Year, MVP, Rookie of the Year, top MVP voting like 5 years, like number 2, number 3. Played in Montreal, that probably cost him an MVP or 2. So yeah, if you go back and look at all his accolades and all that stuff, and you say, oh, I only had 438 home runs. Well, that's in spite of all the things that were stacked against him playing in the National League, especially in Montreal. National League was a lot harder to hit home runs in the American League, not just because of the DH, but the stadiums were so much bigger in the National League. And Montreal is a cavernous place, and if you have bad knees, it's basically a carpet with concrete under it. So Andre Dawson, beloved by many people and maybe misunderstood by others, but a great guy, feared by pitchers, won a home run derby, blasted that home run off of Oak Clemens in the All-Star game. Just happened to be on some pretty bad teams, so didn't have much of a postseason to be judged by. But one of the most respected guys by other players, and I've liked this dude since like 1981, 82, somewhere in there, because I know by the time that 84 card came out, the Roston Perina one, I was already fascinated with the way this guy played and the way he batted. Tried to bat like him, drove my little league coach crazy. So there's my Andre Dawson, so he gets to go in with his 1988 version, which is a little different, as you can see here. So there we go. The main man, Andre Dawson. We'll set him over here so I don't run the risk of bending him. And here we go, people. Drum roll. One of the this card was going for like $3,000+ at some point in time, because if you think about it, there was probably only like 38,000 of these made, and who knows how many made it. But there it is, folks, the first Greg Maddux Major League Baseball card. So him as a Cub, right-hand pitcher, just got called up that year, but since it's a team set, they're able to use pictures and take pictures and have these things made, because they had from April to July to get these put together. So it's a lot easier when you're doing just a set of like 40,000 sets, let's say, than it is to do millions of sets like they would for Topps or something. So that's why these team sets are little. You'll get these early cards of people. And that, folks, is the Greg Maddux, and just him with the little bit of a mullet there, it looks like, and a mustache. So Greg Maddux, right-handed pitcher, Number 31, David Berg. So there you go. 6 foot, 150 pounds. Wow. Bats right, threw right. Born in April 14th, 1966. So happy belated birthday to Greg Maddux a couple weeks ago. And as you can see there, he played in what is that? Plainville, Peoria, Pittsfield, Iowa, and then up to the Cubbies. And so he came up in '86, so maybe that's when they took the picture. He has a 2-4, 5.52 ERA. But as we all know, that would soon change, folks. That would soon change. What's this he got that star for? Oh, that's at Iowa. For league lead in shutouts. 2. And he only had 20 strikeouts by that point in time, but as we all know, those numbers will drastically change, especially this one, the wins, well over 300, like 340 something, 3 whatever. So there you go, folks. That is it. There is the bell of the ball, one of the great unknown but known to Greg Maddux super fans. This is the big card to get if you're a super Greg Maddux collector, because everyone else can get all that other stuff, but this one's a tough one to get. And once again, I don't know if this is the one the guy gave me or the one I got, but there's a second one of him in there. So I have 2 of the 38,000. It comes with that David Berg coupon there. I'm sure that's expired. So get your old style beer here that was popular in Wrigley Field. It's your David Berg dog. I thought they did Vienna, but there we go. So that's that, folks. I've been waiting half a year to do this episode. Sorry it went so long, but the set deserved its time in the limelight. I hope you enjoy that. Tell me what you think. The card's gone down a little bit in price. And I think it had to be graded to get that kind of, realize that kind of money, but I have 2 loose ones. Guess I could always get that graded too. So there it is, folks. I guess mostly my Wrigley Field collection. 88, 87, 88, 2001, and a handful of Hall of Famers on a not great team, but a great set of cards with some great cards in it. Alright, folks, I hope you enjoy that. Please subscribe, like, and leave me a comment. Tell me what you think about this. Super cool stuff. Time to top load these. Protect them better than they were. Alright, everybody. Rob at Old Style Classic Baseball Cards signing out. Bye.